Why does the market maker have to buy stock exactly? I'll explain that in a second. Yeah, you don't understand. Okay, so I'll explain it. I'll give you the simple thing. How are you able to know when to look at NVIDIA for the pump? Well, I'm always looking at NVIDIA. I'm always looking at Apple, NVIDIA, those two in particular. They're in my compass. They're my compass stocks right here, this one and this one. And I look at the SPY and I look at IWM. Don't look at the Qs as much. I don't really need to. But I look at the SPY, I look at IWM, and then when I'm interested in a stock and I see a stock starting to move, I go look at the options chain and I go, holy shit, well, that's why it's moving. So let me explain why the market, and I've explained this, I don't know, the last, I guess, 2 years maybe now. We talk about it almost at every session. If Happy CPA, let's just say you bought the 150 calls yesterday. Okay? Let's just say you got, so Happy CPA, let's say you bought the 150 calls. Okay? And let's just say you bought 1,000 of them. Yeah? If the market shoots all the way up to 160 by Friday, do you think if you bought them for, let's just say, $3 yesterday each, and now price is at $1.60 on Friday, and we're about the day is about to end on Friday, right? Do you think that you might, and you may not understand this, but do you think there's a good possibility, being the options holder that you are of long calls, and obviously if you understand options, and if you go through my basic options course, I explain this in excruciating detail. The reason why they call them options is because you have the option to take the stock, which would be 100 shares for every call options contract you got, which in this case would be 100,000 shares of the stock at, you guessed it, at 150. Do you think you might exercise, you might take possession of the stock if the stock is at 160 and you have the 150 strike? You could certainly cash it in and make a decent profit. And maybe you'll do that with some of them. But I know you're smart. And if you got a hedge fund that you bought all this with, you're probably going to want to own the stock. Who the hell wouldn't want to own NVIDIA at 150 if the stock is at 160? Right? You certainly would. Okay, so then the next question, if you guys all understand that, who's going to give you the stock on Friday? Mr. NVIDIA? Jensen Huang? Yeah, the market maker will negotiate it and deliver it, and they're the clearing for it and all, right? They do the arbitrage. But how is the market maker going to give you 100,000 shares at 150 if price is at 160? So they have to buy to prepare for the potential exercising. Beautifully put. I can tell you're a CPA. Yeah, nicely put. So no pun intended. So they're gonna buy it up here just in case these knuckleheads decide to exercise on Friday. They're not gonna buy it at 160. What if price goes even beyond? What if price only went to like 155? They still would have to buy it at 155 and then deliver it to you at 150. What? They're not going to lose $500,000 on you. They're smarter than you. They're the casino. They just don't. So what happens is when there is an abundance of out of the money calls on a stock that's expiring, let's just say this Friday, more so than the puts, smaller amount, larger amount. These are the puts. The market maker buys blocks of that stock, whether it's the SPY or NVIDIA or Tesla. They buy blocks of the stock so they will have the stock in case, nothing they can do about it, shoots through the roof. They got plenty of stock to give to these people. Wonderful. Now, what they like to do is they try to sell it off to drop it down so that, you won't have a shot. Problem is, if it gets too high, 154.99, and you're at the 150, they're like, how do we turn this back down to like 149 so happy CPA doesn't want to exercise? Well, that's going to be tough. They got to drop this thing 6 points. I don't see them doing that. So that's why when you see price going up higher and higher during the day, and there's, let's just say, a whole bunch of calls here, if you see it breach that level and stick above it, chances are it will go to the next level of calls that are there. So when I look at the 150s and it breached 150 today and stayed above it, then I knew the next level was 155, right? Because look at all these calls here. And look what the market maker did towards the end of the day to make sure that the 155s did not get paid. There's 155. Here we go. Nope. 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 Go ahead. No. And look what price finished. 154.59. You think those 155 call holders were pissed? I think they were. Pretty interesting when you can look at it like this, right? It's a whole different view when you have an idea of like what's doing it, right? So that's what's going on with NVIDIA. Jensen Huang is not a genius. They didn't get an order from China that says we're going to buy 90 billion chips next month. There wasn't like an upgrade or anything. There wasn't a tariff piece of news about the semiconductor markets. This was synthetic buying. This was out of the money calls and the market maker doing what they do. And because of that, and because NVIDIA is so heavily weighted in the SPY was sucking wind. Because the Russell, the IWM, which I've been talking to you about for years, is the leading indicator. People around have been copying me about this, but I've been talking about this for years. Follow IWM because it goes first. If the market's going to drop, IWM's going to go first. Why? Well, I think it's because hedge funds start dumping the shit stocks first because they don't want the rest of the world or the trading community to know that they're dumping Apple. Because if they start dumping Apple, everyone dumps Apple and then they'll lose their position. So they dump the shit that they've got in their portfolio first. And that causes this to go down and then the SPY follows. Same when on the way up. They don't want everybody to know that they're buying the dip. So what do? They buy the shit that's been beat up. And they load up on this first. As it starts to move higher, they take the cash, they rotate it into Apple and NVIDIA and everything else, and then they're back in.
Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video from Trade With Me Now. Make sure to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to our channel so you make sure that you catch our next video right when it's released. Also, if you have a question or comment, please leave that in the comment section below. And of course, if you want to learn more about Trade With Me Now or join our community of profitable traders, go to tradewithmenow.com. There's also a link in the description below.